The Newcomer, page 26. The water in Rachel's shower had turned cold. She turned it off, got out, and wrapped her hair in a towel. While putting on her robe, she noticed that the journal hadn't magically disappeared. She pulled out a flask from between her mattresses. While pouring herself a scotch, she called work. No, nothing serious, she told the receptionist after her first shot of whiskey. Just a wicked case of the flu, she gasped, the alcohol's vapors burning down her throat. I'll need off tomorrow, too. She half listened to the girl while she lit a cigarette to indulge in a forbidden habit. Could I trouble you to contact the ER for me and inform that I won't be there either? She hoped that the female had consented, for her mind didn't register the response. It had wandered back to the debris on her bed. She hung up the phone while sliding towards the papers. She scooped them up, deciding not to torture herself with her probably dead husband's words. Excerpts jumped up at her while she patted the pages into a neat stack and assembled them into another forbidden thing, a book. She snapped the journal into a black notepad binder and dropped it back on the bed. There were times when Rachel was alone that she allowed herself the decadence of remorse. She went over to her window now and drew back the curtains to release her soul to the trees. In her perfected silent screams, the trees rustled her afflicted spirit, which spilled from her eyes, spiraling her pain into a frenzied suffering towards the sky. The clouds absorbed her bitter tears, bellowing them into the stratosphere, where her waves shattered into space to dissipate and cool before hurling back to the earth in the form of a cold steel rod that pummeled back into Rachel. It engorged her heart, splattering again. There was no going back. This cog was spent. There is a freedom in knowing that you can't handle any more strife. The full vessel is not weak because it overflows. The vessel has not given up, it's useless. The entity that does the pouring hasn't taken the time to empty it. If the vessel could move away from the stream, it would. That's all Rachel chose to do. She was not giving up, she was making a decision. She was not weak, she was removing herself from the stream. She closed the curtains, yanked the towel from her head, and got dressed. Sitting down at her computer, she inserted a fresh disk and began emptying her files into it. Her research into Laconia, her family tree, where Ava was taken, how to hide files in the network, how to monkey with the network's connections, the floor plan of the prison, the floor plan of the community that sprang from the prison, the floor plans of various buildings around the country, the floor plans of middle communities in Russia and China, how to gain access to the network, and finally, her own small diary. By the time that she was finished, it was nightfall. The buzzing and clicking of her computer was gone. Her room was silent and black. She switched her light and pulled out her backpack from beneath her bed. Inside it, she crammed a few clothes, her discs, her flask, her cigarettes, matches, and the smokeless ashtray that helped her hide her addiction. From her locked stash box, she took her cash, shoving the bills into the pocket of her jeans. Inside the black box, she locked Troy's journal and stuffed that into her backpack too. To her knowledge, the village in Arizona, where she and Troy had lived, still existed. No one bothered to investigate the rumors that a community still thrived there, for the powers that be felt that if this community chose to die, then let them. One less problem for them to deal with. She stole a car from the impounded vehicles, crashed through the prison community fence, and headed west. She knew that she couldn't get Ava and avoid her capture. This was a fleeting thought because she also knew that she wouldn't be able to take care of her if she did take her with her. She didn't care if she were followed, which she wasn't. She didn't care if she got to Arizona, which she did. She didn't care if there was a community there, which there was. She was useful. She was empty. She was free. September 15th, 1987. Because of my predicament, I can't stop wondering how they're handling the male infants. It's easy to keep a grown male in bed, but an infant, especially a toddler? And what are they doing with the female babies? What have they done with Ava? I wonder too where Rachel is and how she's holding up under all this. My prayer is that she took Ava and got back to that hut where we were stolen from in the first place. But I know that this is only a dream. Small beads of rain trailed down the pane of safe room window. Terry made a game of it by choosing his contestant and racing it to the frame. He reveled in every victory. He bashed his head with every defeat. Cherry was a charge who lived in safe room, a safe room that was constructed for security against self-abuse. It was entirely empty, and its walls, ceiling, and floor were thickly padded and covered in white canvas. A constant body temperature made clothes and blankets unnecessary, as clothes and blankets raised security threats. The only change in the whiteness of the room was a window. The window was safely placed within each safe room, low enough to be seen through, but high enough so that it couldn't be reached. Constructed of Dago plastic, its 5-foot circumference let in the sun's rays without their damaging effects. Through it, Terry watched the sky. Lightning, clouds, rain. He had sight knowledge of these and more, like the condensation beads, but he didn't know that they had substance. They were his toys, his movies, his single possessions, yet over these he had no control. He couldn't understand why he couldn't conjure up the bright, or the game, or the picture puffs upon demand. Anger consumed him if he got the scare strings when he wanted the bright, or if he got the bright when he wanted the game. Up until the time of indoctrination, the window would pacify. Beyond that time, it would enrage. Indoctrination would begin soon for Terry. He had lived in safe room for 13 years, placed there, like all charters, when he had turned 3. The matrices knew that Terry's time was near. Body changes complete, the behavior had begun.